Good afternoon, Madam Chair Landrieu, Ranking Member Risch, and the other distinguished members of the committee. My name is Larry Katz, and I'm the owner of the Dot's Diner Restaurant Group based in Metairie, Louisiana. And I'd also like to thank Senator Vitter for his invitation to appear today. While there's no question that the federal government needs to reform and strengthen our health care system, I believe that the law as currently written will negatively impact job growth, startup expansions, and raise prices, not just of health care, but of all products and services that we buy. It certainly has had a direct effect on my company, and I anticipate it will leave me in a position of being less competitive than other local restaurants going forward. I'll detail these observations, but first allow me to tell you a short history of Dots and me. After college, I moved to New Orleans and took a job with a clothing manufacturer, eventually becoming president. In '96, the company was sold. Not wanting to continue with the new concern, my dream was to own my own company. I cashed in my whole life insurance, calculated credit card availability, and emptied my entire savings into my dream. With less than $200,000, I opened the first Dot's Diner restaurant. Well, fast forward 12 months. I'd stopped sleeping, was down to less than $10,000 in savings, and at that point I had just a few options. Second, mortgage our home or declare bankruptcy. The third option of admitting to my wife that I had made a mistake was off the table. By the grace of God, perseverance, and some good luck, we broke even that week. It was in April 1997, and I can remember the day like it was yesterday. The following week, we made a few $100s, and the tide had been turned. Today, I own 6 diners, employ 85 people, and I'm proud that I constantly get calls from landlords asking us to consider opening a store in their area. We offer paid holidays, vacation, dental, vision, term life, and health insurance. We currently employ 65 FTEs, and thus will not be able to benefit from most of the subsidies and tax credits offered to similar companies under the ACA. And in addition to not benefiting, we'll be hurt by virtue of being over the 50-employee limit. Smaller restaurant companies will now have their employees covered by the exchanges at little or no cost to them, while larger companies generally offer health insurance and will not be impacted as much. Well, we're caught in this unintended donut hole, and thus will be saddled with the options of either dropping our current health insurance plans and pay the penalty, or cover 100% of our employees and incur its resultant much higher cost. Well, I've unfortunately made the decision to quit offering coverage as soon as the employer mandate kicks in, as the penalty, while huge, is less than the cost of offering the required coverage to all of our employees. So beginning January 1, 2015, my employees and I will become part of the federal system, and the company will be saddled with a $70,000 after-tax penalty. At inception, I'll be forced to raise my prices between 2% and 3% to cover these expenses. The biggest issue to me, though, is the 2 major business decisions I'm facing. One option is either selling or closing the 2 least profitable diners. This action would jettison 12 FTEs. At that point, I would juggle the hours of the remaining employees to get us under the 50-person limit. And sadly, I've made the calculation that the corporation would be better off if I were to do exactly this, as the penalty owed would be less than the profit I were to lose if I were to close them. So isn't it a shameful position to be put into? I, the business owner, am now forced to put 16 people out of work just to save himself from the negative effects of the ACA. Fearful of the future, I'm also currently in the process of having Dots valued, and will consider selling the entire company based on what I learned from this evaluation. So after 17 years, the first few facing bankruptcy, the next 8 investing 100% of our profits back into the company to fuel growth, I now strongly am considering getting rid of my life's work and dream. As to expansion, that option is off the table. I want no part of adding employees over the 50-person limit. I recently went to look at a new restaurant location. The rent, the demographics would be perfect. My instincts tell me that it would be our best location. And with all that, I decided not to open a restaurant there. Why? Because I determined that the prospect of adding 15 more employees and permanently assuring myself of being over the 50-person employee limit would be more harmful than the profits I might gain from opening the diner. So in conclusion, with all the benefits that one side of this committee truly believes will happen, I wanted to point out the very real side effects to this act: the loss of jobs, the raising of prices, no expansion, and the forcing of employees into the federal exchanges. Thank you all for the opportunity today to speak about this critical issue facing our country and its small businesses.